Hi, my name is Priscilla. I will be giving you a tour of the settings in the ZipClock web application today. From the ZipClock dashboard, click on the settings icon in the top right corner. Select App Settings and click ZipClock. Here, you'll find all the settings at the global and site level. Let's begin with the departments in global settings. The department settings must be enabled in clock settings prior to adding any departments. In the department settings, you can view, make edits, or add departments for your business. To add a new department, simply enter the department name. You also have the option of adding any existing positions. Once you have all your departments down, you can move on to the next category. Go ahead and click on Scheduling Positions. Similarly, you can view, make edits, or add scheduling positions for all sites. When adding a new position, enter the title and assign a color. This color will represent this position and show up on the scheduler. Select a department for this position, or you can update it later. Excluding the position from variable coverage means that they are considered salary and will not be counted as an hourly employee. After adding all your scheduling positions, you can configure your clock settings. Here you can manage various features of the time clock. This toggles crew employees to have the ability to add, edit, or delete their punches, but will still require a manager's approval before payroll is finalized. If you decide to allow employees to do so, you can set how many days they have to edit the punch after the initial day. Offsetting the clock in time allows employees to clock in within that time frame of their scheduled shift. In this case, it is 5 minutes before or after their shift begins. You can also set the clock to allow a time frame for which employees can clock in without a violation, but with the manager's approval. Offsetting for unbalanced punches clocks the employee out if they forget to clock out for the day after, in this case, 12 hours so that they can clock in for the next shift. The punch will be left open until they or a manager edits their punch out time. This toggle will enable employees to clock in with multiple job codes, which we will cover later. If you enable multiple job codes, it will allow for you to have the option to add incremental pay to these job codes. You can also decide if employees will require a reason for when they make a manual punch update. This section will allow certain users to clock in via their mobile device. Under Miscellaneous, you can select if your employees can acknowledge their punches from the previous pay period and when they may acknowledge it at. Decide whether you want to include the manager's pay rate in the labor dollar count. This toggle will show any labor rule violations on the punch management dashboard. With the geolocation toggle, you can allow employees to clock in from a restricted distance from their mobile device. This toggle will enable rest breaks in addition to meal breaks. As mentioned earlier, you can enable this to add departments to your business. Save the changes you made, and now we will move on to job codes. If you elected to enable multiple job codes, this is where you can configure the settings. Job codes allow employees to clock in with different job positions of varying pay. When adding a job code, give it an ID and name. These pay codes are used to track regular, overtime, and double time in your payroll software report if you have one. Enable tips if the position receives tips. Now, let's go over extra pay. Extra pay can be used for any reason an employee may have to receive extra money on top of the hours they work. This can be a holiday bonus, sick time, or they are a top performer. To add an extra pay reason, enter the name and decide whether or not it will show the extra pay hours. Last on the global settings, the pay period shows whether you have a weekly or bi-weekly pay period, as well as what day it starts. This was set up during your onboarding process and can be changed by contacting our customer support team. That concludes all the settings at the global level. Now I will go over the settings at the site level. In this case, I will be using the Santa Ana site. The first setting we encounter is the operational days. Here you can select the days your business is open, and this will reflect on your calendar and availability. Next, we will go over the labor rules. These settings will help you create schedules while staying compliant to labor rules in your area. Here, I can enable daily and weekly overtime, daily and weekly double time, meal breaks, set the minimum wage, and the minimum time off between shifts. On the right, enter the information in its appropriate boxes. If your managers and supervisors are paid salary, you can exclude them from being included in overtime and double time calculations. If you have employees who are considered minors, configurations can be made to restrict the hours they can work to follow labor rules. Once you save your changes, you can set your labor budget next. In the labor budget, the average pay rate is auto-calculated by the total hourly pay of all crew employees divided by the total number of crew employees. This can help give you insight into how much, on average, you are spending on labor per hour. You also have the option to set up your labor percentage by day by toggling the switch. Depending on how much of your labor budget you allocate, that will change the weekly labor percentage shown on the top right. Be sure to save the changes made. Next, you can configure your clock settings at the site level as well. Here, you can decide to allow your employees to add or edit their tip amount during clock out. If you have the biometric time clock, you can also opt to allow employees to clock in using their fingerprint only, employee ID and PIN only, or both. After saving your clock settings, the last setting at the site level is for manager authorization. In this setting, you can set up when you need managers to authorize violations for the earliest start time for minors, minimum time off between punches, and start of shifts. That concludes all the settings available for Zip Clock. Thank you for watching.